Hello and welcome back to 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your producer, Jeremiah Long, and today we're talking about the Minnesota Golden Gophers. I almost said Minnesota. I almost jumped into some northern accent like I even have one, and it's just natural for this. But today we're talking about the Minnesota Golden Gophers with the world-renowned host, the guy who's brought you more team previews in the last year than he did the year previously. It's Mr. Logan Landers. How's it going, brother?
Hey, what's going on, Jeremiah? And yeah, just to talk about your point, it is kind of fun to say Golden Gophers or anything like that. It just flies off the tongue just naturally, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you that I haven't got to go to Minnesota, but it's one of the places I've always wanted to visit because I know that it is like we were talking offline earlier, it's an extremely strong sports town with great teams. It's also, from what I understand, an extremely diverse town with a lot of niche communities all through it that I've just heard that over and over again that Minnesota has one of the most diverse communities of people from all over the world and just amazing, resident people that grew up there their whole life. And it's just got to be a very interesting place to be. So without further ado, brother, tell us, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, what do the fan base have to look forward to this year? And what is it that the Golden Gophers need to do to really make some noise?
Yeah, I mean, like we say with a good bit of these teams that we've said so far going into 2021, they want to play a full schedule. This team only played in 7 games last year. They went 3-4 in the Big Ten. So, with a full fleshed out schedule, you're hoping they can get over that 500 record. And I think they really very well can. It's not going to be easy, but I think they can, though, because they have a lot of good pieces. You got PJ Fleck is their head coach, who's been coaching for a long time now, who's got a lot of respect in the college football world. And you have a pretty solid quarterback, all in all, with Tanner Morgan. Man, just the fact that when I was doing my research, in 2019, only 3 names had who were more efficient than this guy. That was Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, and Justin Fields. Now, where have we heard those names? Oh, yeah, they're pretty big stars in the NFL right now. Yeah. So in 2019, man, Tanner Morgan was doing great things. He did better than some guys I didn't even list, like Justin Herbert, like Kyle Trask. Trevor Lawrence, even, who was just the number 1 overall pick. So that just lets you know just how good that Tanner Morgan was in 2019. Now, granted, 2020, he fell off a little bit. But we've seen that he has, like I said, with a full schedule like they had in 2019, hopefully he can bounce back after falling off just a little bit in 2020. He can get a full schedule behind him. And I think he can get back to his ways in that 2019 season. He can get over that 60% completion percentage, and he can throw for a lot of yards. So I think he's going to be determined. You're getting some, you got great guys. You got PJ Fleck, Mike Sanford as your offensive coordinator, as well as Matt Simon. So you've got a good amount of guys who have a very offensive-minded season coming into this year, and I think they should be fine. I think that he's going to be good, but you did lose a big part of your wide receiving core with Rashad Bateman, who went to the Baltimore Ravens. Hopefully you can get Chris Ottman-Bell, who's going to try and step up and be that next number 1 guy, but that remains to be seen. So I think he is a great deep threat, though. Like I said, he gets around 20 yards a catch like he did last year. So we'll see if he can step up that production, fill in for Bateman, who was an absolute star at Minnesota. And if he can take on that number 1 receiving role, it remains to be seen. I think he can personally, but we'll see how it shakes out in this season. So you do have a few other guys in that receiving core as well. You have Daniel Jackson and Dylan Wright, who's coming over from Texas A&M. So you have a good crop of wide receivers. You have a good quarterback and who's got a lot to prove this year. So I think the passing game is going to be on point. For the running game, like I said, you got to have a good offensive line to have any kind of running game. And they are getting they're getting a lot of big guys. Jeremiah, these guys are huge, and they're getting the return. I feel like I need to be like Bruce Buffer right now with a microphone close, just a really hyped introduction. For the 6'9", 400-pound Daniel Filet.
Yeah.
Whew, he's coming back. He opted out last year. The right tackle, the big 400-pounder, is coming back with a point to prove in 2021, getting that draft stock moving up even more. Man, that is what you love to see if you are Mr. Tanner Morgan, getting your big right tackle back. And, man, he is a big boy. And that offensive line is going to be solid this year, I think. They're going to be good, and I think they're going to be fine. You got a lot of guys returning as well. And you're going to have guys, they're going to shift a little bit, but that's all right, though, because they're going to go back to their natural positions on that line. So they're going to be fine, I think. You got guys like Connor Olson. You got Blaze Andrews as well. They're going to be great. So I think this offensive line is going to be absolutely phenomenal for the Golden Gophers coming into 2021. And also to give a shout out to the running back, Muhammad Ibrahim. Man, he was a tough guy last year. And like I said, and even a shortened season when they only played in 7 games, this guy ran for over 200 yards in 7 games. So they called his name a lot. He ran the ball just down the throats of the opponents. And I think now with also Cam Riley in the backfield and Trayson Potts as well, you have a lot of guys who have averaged around 6 yards a carry in that backfield. So you've got a dynamic running back room as well to go with a good quarterback, some solid wide receivers, and a massive offensive line. I wouldn't worry much about this Minnesota Golden Gophers offense this year. I think they're going to be phenomenal. I think they're going to put up a lot of points. They're going to run for a lot of yards. And hopefully Tanner Moore can get back to his 2019 form and throw for a bunch of yards at a highly efficient rate. So I think the offense, all in all, is going to be solid. Now let's flip the ball and let's go over to defense. The defense is the kind of key factor for me this season in how Minnesota is going to be in 2021. The defense, it wasn't the best last year. There wasn't much of a pass rush, hardly any takeaways, and the run defense was just not good the entire year. So, hey, all in all, though, I think that you have a bunch of guys returning. I think it said all 11 starters are going to be coming back. They're going to be shifted around a little bit, I think, with all the new guys coming in. But pretty much all of your guys from last year are coming back on defense. And let's see, they're going to be hyped to improve and get better, improve that last year was just kind of a fluke with everything going on. But I think that it's going to be fine because, like you said, you got to get a better pass rush. You got to get a few more turnovers. But with a team who has the experience, who has potential, I think they could do it this year. But it's got to start with somebody. I think that it's got to start, man, with Micah Drew Treadway, who's great. Yeah, he's 6'4", 315. And I think just him, D'Angelo Carter as well on the inside, those are 2 guys who need to step up, like I mentioned, against the run defense, which was just kind of, it wasn't there last year. So those 2 guys really have to step up, I think, and prove that this team is solid. Also, you have a few seniors as well. You got Maffey, who led the team in sacks last year with 4.5, because they only had 8 sacks in total last year. And I get they only played in 7 games, but still, you got to have more sacks than that. And I think this team, the pass rush, could improve, and I think it will. Yeah. As for the linebackers, you got to improve just a little bit longer. I think they should be fine, though. You got Sori Marin, who had 54 tackles last year, led the team up in the middle, but they didn't do too much, though. They didn't get a whole lot of sacks from that linebacking core, but I think they could this year. They have a lot of potential with him, who is a solid guy that, they could run a 4-2-5. So I think with him, if they switch up some of the schemes a little bit, if they just kind of come out in some different packages on defense, I think that they could get a better pass rush all in all. Because like I said, the potential is there for this team, but it's just going to see if they can, if they can improve on that and what they can do in this season. Also, Tyler Newman as well. He's had a great year. It's 41 tackles, led you second on the team. And also Jordan Howden, who had 37. So you've got guys who are pretty much boulders on that defensive side of the ball who are going to get tackles. But it's fine to get tackles and everything, but you got to get turnovers. And I think that Coney Durr, who is a great corner, he's great at tackling. I think he could have a really good season this year. And his last year at Minnesota, a veteran who's been there for quite a long time. And also Justice Harris, who's been there for a little bit as well. So I think that the corners can improve if they can get a few more turnovers. If the linebackers, if they can, do what they did last year, just improve on it a little bit, get a few more sacks. I think the defense could really improve this year. I think last year was kind of a down year for them, but I think they got something to prove this year. And I think that all in all, if you're a Minnesota Gophers fan, I think this is going to be a pretty good season. But the schedule, man, week 1, it's a tough one. It is a tough game. Week 1, they're going up against the Ohio State University. So that is a tough challenge, week 1. They're playing them on September 2nd. But other than that, they get a few games they should win. I see Miami, Ohio, Colorado, Bowling Green. So a few games that they should win. Then really the next kind of test I see, honestly, I see Illinois and then Iowa, and then they end out the year with Indiana and Wisconsin. So the middle of the season, I think, is when they could really shine and get a good win streak. Because they face some teams that they should win against. I see Maryland, Northwestern. I see Bowling Green. Just a few names out there. So they have a pretty winnable schedule. It's not the easiest in the world, but as long as they win the games that they're expected to win, and they play tough against some of the tougher teams like the Ohio States of the world, I think that Minnesota is going to improve off of last year. I think they're going to get above the 500 plateau, and I think that they're just going to keep building, and hopefully they can get back to another Big Ten championship in the near future.
Man, if they get to that Big Ten championship, you know what those stands are going to be like. You know what those fans are going to be like. So the Minnesota Golden Gophers, they've got to push it this year, right? So what are your final thoughts on the Gophers and their fan base? What do the fans really want to see?
Yeah, honestly, if I'm a fan of the Golden Gophers, hopefully you can get Morgan back to his form back in 19. You got the running game who's going to be solid. You got a great O-line. The receiving core is going to step up with the lost. So I think they're going to be fine. If you're on the defense, they just got to improve off of last year. Last year wasn't a great year, but they've got a lot of guys who are coming back. You have a transfer, and now it's Pickney, who I forgot to touch on, who's coming over from Clemson. So you've got some guys who are experienced, who are coming over from good schools, who are going to help out this team. And like I said, I think overall this Gophers team, it's going to be a tough year facing some good opponents, but I could see them getting back over 500 for sure. They should if all things go right, as long as injuries aren't there, and as long as everyone's safe and everything. I think that this Gophers team is going to be solid. I don't know if they're going to quite get into the Big Ten championship yet, but I do think they're getting very close to it as long as they keep building. And I could see them in there the next couple of years, all in all, man, because this team has a good foundation, good head coach, and they got a good crop of players. So I think that this year is going to be definitely an improving year. They're going to show all the fans that last year was a fluke. You're not going to see that anymore. You're going to see back to Minnesota Golden Gophers football. And I think it's going to be a winning year if you're a Gophers fan.
Definitely. Well, Gophers fans, tell us in the comments what you think. What are you most looking forward to? I will tell you this, you're probably looking forward to just being back in the stands at all. And I think we all are. And so that's going to be a great part of the season, is getting back to the fandom, getting back to the tailgates, and just having a great time out in those Minnesota parking lots and those Minnesota home football, fields, and the bars, and the great the great sports caves full of all the memorabilia. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to every single moment of that. And if you're watching this on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, thank you so much. All the times you've been sharing all of our videos over to your other Minnesota Golden Gophers fans, or to your friends and family, or just talking about us online. It is super helpful, and it's been the reason we've been able to grow so quickly and so much in the last year. And if you're listening to our podcast right now, thank you so much. Our podcast has been also just booming in the last 6 months. We have changed the entire structure of what we do to make sure that our podcast listeners have all the information they need. And so if you're not listening, jump over anywhere you listen to podcasts to 100 Yards of Football. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And I'll tell you, we drop a new podcast all the time, like practically every single day. If you're doing your morning drive, your evening drive back home, you're back in the office, or you're still working from home, we'll keep you company. We keep them pretty tight, 10 to 15 minutes. We go really in depth and tell you all the information you need. We keep it on the field. We always talk about just the players, the sports, and all the positive aspects of football. We don't worry about the players' lives as much. And one thing that I really want to encourage you to do is go back. If you have just now started joining us and listening to our podcast, go back and listen to some of our great history specials. We have our original founder host, Vincent Mr. Football Turner, the football encyclopedia, and he goes ultra in-depth on the fandom, the players, and what it was like to experience some of the most amazing classic teams, back to the Chicago Bears and all the NFL powerhouses, to the SEC powerhouses, to the other college football powerhouses, all through the years. And those are some great episodes. I go back and listen to even ones I've listened to before, just because it's just great information and it's really engaging. I really always have a lot of fun and enjoyment with those. So for the entire team here, I am Jeremiah Long, the producer, and you've been listening to our host, Logan Landers, give a preview of the Minnesota Golden Gophers college football team for 2021. We're going to be right back with another live episode.